Hey folks, I've seen a lot of confusion about the recent changes to the Invoke-WebRequest commandlet, so I thought it would take a few minutes to kind of go over what changed and how this could possibly affect your scripts. Also, apologies ahead of time. This video is more off the cuff than my usual content. Plus, I'm pretty sure that my kids are herding elephants somewhere in this house, or at least it sounds that way. But I wanted to get this out there because there seems to be a lot of confusion. So what's changed? After installing Windows updates released on or after December 9th, 2025, running Invoke-WebRequest without using the use basic parsing parameter triggers a new security warning. While this will just cause an extra prompt in interactive consoles, it has the potential to completely break enterprise workflow. Think your scheduled tasks, CI pipelines, monitoring scripts, basically everything that runs autonomously will start hanging, waiting on a response. Now, before you start freaking out, let me clear up a few things. First, this only affects Windows PowerShell 5.1. PowerShell 7 is not affected and will continue to work just like before. Second, adding the use basic parsing switch will bypass this prompt. In other words, ensure all of your automation scripts have use basic parsing in the invoke request to prevent this from hanging. And finally, this only applies to the invoke web request. Invoke REST method is not affected because it doesn't parse HTML in the same way that invoke web request does. Let's take a quick look at the behavior and what you can do to prevent the hanging and what the effects on your scripts will be. In Windows PowerShell 5.1, when I run invoke web request, I'll now see a prompt to confirm if you want to run them. Entering Y or A will allow the command to run. Entering N, L, or S, or just hitting enter will prevent the command from running. Now we run the same command again, but this time using the use basic parsing switch, it runs without prompting. So what happened here? Well, in Windows PowerShell 5.1, when you run the invoke web request without the use basic parsing, it uses the Internet Explorer HTML parser when processing pages. Unfortunately, that parser is very enthusiastic, meaning it may execute malicious scripts embedded in the page. Using the use basic parsing bypasses the Internet Explorer parser and just returns the content. This is what PowerShell 7 does by default because it has been decoupled from Windows and by extension Internet Explorer. How do you determine what effects adding the use basic parsing switch will do to your scripts? Look at the output from running it both ways. You'll see that the full parsing has a lot more data populated. The IE parser populates the forms, images, input fields, parsed HTML property. If your scripts are not using any of these fields, then you're safe to add the use basic parsing switch and carry on. If you are using any of these fields, then I suggest rewriting the scripts not to use them. If you need an HTML parser, I recommend PowerHTML from Justin Grody. I'll put a link to that down in the description. To help you find potential breaking scripts, I've put together a script that can search all of your installed modules and folders to identify scripts where the invoke web request commandlet exists and lets you know if it's using basic parsing or not. You can download this script from my Gist, again, link in the description. So you can point it to a folder and have it search all the scripts, the PS1s and PSM1 files in it, and also to search any subfolders, just include the recurse switch. As you can see here, it comes back with our line number, our command used, whether or not it found this parameter on these. It'll even go back and search inside if you have any ones that are using splatting and try to its best to determine whether or not it is using that. You can also run it with the .module switch, and what this will do is it will search all installed modules on your computer and see if there's any that are using the invoke web request. I know I've already found a few Microsoft and community modules that will be affected by this. I've also included a link to a script by Scatterbrains for Search-GitHubRepository. This allows you to search through your GitHub repositories using the GitHub CLI to find any instances of invoke web request in your scripts out there. Hope this was helpful in clearing up some of the confusion around this recent change. Let me know if you'd like me to create a follow-up on replacing some HTML parsing with PowerHTML. So, in summary, invoke web request didn't break. It simply discovered boundaries. And this only applies, again, to Windows PowerShell 5.1. It'll now just display a security prompt when invoke web request without the use basic parsing switch. The change prevents automatic script execution for untrusted web content. So this is a security risk to not have this in there. To prevent your automations from hanging, always include the use basic parsing, or you can be good and actually update to Windows PowerShell 7 or use invoke REST method. Choosing yes does keep the old behavior, and choosing no cancels the operation. And that's it. I hope that cleared up some of the confusion around that. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out either in the comments or on any of my socials. Thank you.